So, summary of the debate. It's very simple. Hillary Clinton's summary is this. I love Barack Obama. I don't know if this guy does. I don't know. I mean, here's who loves Obama. Me. As John pointed out in one of his tweets during our live coverage, man, no one's worked harder for a third term of President Obama than Hillary Clinton. And so let's understand why she's doing that. Because South Carolina is coming up. African-American voters in the South Carolina primary love President Obama. She tried to goad Bernie Sanders all night long into attacking President Obama. Oh, but you said he was weak. You said this. Oh, well, you disagreed with him on this and this. And he didn't take the bait. He didn't take the bait. And at the end, he had a really great line where he said, look, he campaigned for me. I campaigned for him. Yes, from time to time I disagree with the president. That's what happens. But you never disagreed with him? That's kind of weird,
well,
right?
He said you never disagreed with a president, meaning her own husband. I think you disagree with that guy sometimes.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
I'm sure you disagree with the president.
I don't think he meant that, but that's a good connection.
He said a president.
He said a president. I think he was trying to say, you can never disagree with the president.
I took it the other way.
It's possible.
It's obvious that anyway, go ahead.
It's possible.
But at the end, he did that sick burn, if you will, where he said, there was somebody on this stage who ran against President Obama, and it wasn't me.
That was strong.
And it wasn't me.
So there was a couple of moments where I thought Bernie Sanders was super strong. That was one of them when he said, look, let's be honest. Wall Street isn't giving candidates this money for fun. They're obviously expecting some sort of return back. And almost every American hears that and goes, that's totally true.
As I keep pointing out, they are literally investors.
Yeah.
They're not donors. They're not charitable individuals. That's not what their business card says.
That's a great way of framing it. And then finally, the other burn was randomly, who would have predicted this? No one, about Henry Kissinger. I mean, he got animated. And he's like, here's who's not my friend. Henry Kissinger. That guy's a piece of shit.
So immediately after he made that statement, someone went on Wikipedia and edited Henry Kissinger's Wikipedia page. So the first line would say, Henry Kissinger, not a friend of Bernie Sanders. Of course, it got changed right away. Someone corrected that or whatever, but it was just so funny.
Well, and it was a great line to have ready because, how much social media activity was there when she started name-dropping Henry Kissinger over the past week and a half? It's so bizarre. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to politics, especially politics more than a couple of decades ago. But his is not a name you use. Like in 15 years, is the president going to be like, oh, yeah, I just went golfing with Dick Cheney. He didn't even shoot me in the face. Like, nobody's going to be name-dropping these reprehensible individuals.
Yeah, no, and maybe they do on the Republican side, but they certainly would not do it on the Democratic side. Henry Kissinger,
exactly.
A Republican, despicable, basically what most people consider a war criminal, right? So can you imagine a couple, like John said, let's say 15 years from now, a Democrat running for president going like, well, I was just with Donald Rumsfeld, who's advising my campaign.
Yeah.
And he told me this. You'd be like, oh, my God, get out of the race right now.
And studying the collected works of Milosevic.
And that's how tight that bubble is that Hillary Clinton is lived
Bingo,
in.
yes.
Is that she doesn't realize that saying Henry Kissinger is the worst thing. She doesn't even realize that he's a war criminal. Or that matters because they don't ever prosecute them. So that's how tight that bubble is. She doesn't even realize what that did. She doesn't. In fact, it happened again, and she didn't realize it. Anyway.
Yeah. So Jimmy really, really nailed it there because it isn't about Kissinger. That's not going to win or lose anybody in an election here. It's that she's so clueless as to what actual Americans care about.
Yeah.
Because inside the bubble, the Beltway bubble, the establishment, Kissinger is lovely, right?
Yes.
Right now, I don't think any of the younger, that's not fair. But to be fair, a lot of the younger voters probably don't know a lot about Kissinger, right? But what she has an advantage with is older voters. She might now lose that advantage because the older voters, they remember Kissinger and they hate him, right, on the Democratic side. So, it's a bad call in every way, but what's more important about that is how symbolic it is and how representative it is. So in case you didn't see it, here is the Kissinger exchange.
She talked about getting the approval or the support or the mentoring of Henry Kissinger. Now, I find it rather amazing because I happen to believe that Henry Kissinger was one of the most destructive secretaries of state in the modern history of this country. I am proud to say that Henry Kissinger is not my friend. I will not take advice from Henry Kissinger. Count me in as somebody who will not be listening to Henry Kissinger.
Well, I know journalists have asked who you do listen to on foreign policy, and we have yet to know who that is.
Well, it ain't Henry Kissinger, that's
fine.
for sure.
That's fine.
Bam! Bam!
So good.
Bam! It's like the chutzpah of Trump, but with actual points to make instead of just insults.
Yeah. Instead of saying like, oh, well, my advisors are wonderful, they're fantastic, they're tremendous, and yours are a mess, right?
Yeah.
No, he says, look, here's the problem with Kissinger and why you shouldn't be using him for advice. And so overall, then in my assessment of how this debate went, Hillary Clinton was trying really hard to knock him off his game. She's already adapted some of his previous stances. The beginning of her initial introduction was talking about income inequality. Throughout, she kept talking about, well, we definitely agree about getting money out of politics. No, you don't agree about that. In her conclusions, she said, well, we got to get unaccountable money out of politics. Great, you first. Right? Why don't you get unaccountable money out of your politics, out of your campaign, right?
Yeah.
As you've mentioned before, she is definitely backed into a corner because of Bernie Sanders repeating the message over and over again that he's not funded by super PACs, that he's not taking super PAC money. And, you know, his discussions about how money influences politics is so important because now she has no choice, right? She has to take that funding. And at the same time, if she takes that funding, she can't say that she's a huge advocate of getting money out of politics. You're benefiting from money out of politics while you do this disingenuous speech about how much you want to get that money out. It's not resonating.